Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, let's just say a great big happy birthday to Doctor Who is 60. 60. Come on now. He's a lot older than that, isn't he? But time and relative dimensions in space mean nothing to him, of course. Well, 15 regenerations, or I think we're about to be on the 15th regeneration. But a time-honoured, classic of imagination, science mumbo-jumbo, action, adventure, eccentricity, flamboyance. It had it all. Now, way back in 1963, An Unearthly Child aired on the 23rd of November. So yesterday was the official birthday of Doctor Who. Of course, it was William Hartnell playing the Doctor then. And I wasn't around at that time. Oh, no. However, my wife was. But my wife can't stand Doctor Who. She hates sci-fi, hates anything to do with robots, computers, laser beams, and imagination. Hates all that kind of stuff. But Doctor Who became a huge phenomenon, a cult favourite the world over. And of course, it's had its resurgence with Russell T Davies and all of that blurb. But for me, and I mean this, for me, the era is Tom Baker. I will watch whatever remaining episodes we can find of William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, and of course, the flamboyance and debonair, suave, pseudo-comedy of John Pertwee, who was great. And then you got the eccentric, flamboyance and overt comedy of Tom Baker. But of course, Tom Baker would also bring in the horror. Yes. The Seeds of Doom, the Terror of the Zygons, the Pyramids of Mars, the Braid of Morbius, the Talons of Weng Chang, loads of stuff. The Ark in Space, even Robot, his first episode, his first story, Robot, with that voice, fabulous stuff. And I love it. But after he regenerated and became, who did he become? Did he become Peter Davidson? He did. And then Davidson became Colin Baker. Colin Baker became Sylvester McCoy. Sylvester McCoy became Paul McGann in that ill-fated TV movie. Now, the thing is, with Eric Roberts as the Master, now, he ain't no Richard Delgado, but I did enjoy that TV show for what it was, that TV movie. And then it got revamped again with Christopher Eccleston, which was fantastic. Oh, bored the hell out of me, to be honest. And he was an annoyance. I loved Chris Eccleston as well, but didn't enjoy that. Then David Tennant came in, and yeah, I loved David Tennant in season 1. And then he got a second season, and he really began to grate on my nerves. I know, a Scotsman, and I should love him, of course, but his mangling of the English language, having to wrestle his brogue around anglicised English accent was just woeful and almost painful to bear. And the fact that he kept on apologising to every single alien life form he ever met who had a horrible agenda, he'd have to vanquish it somehow. Excuse me. You'd have to try to do it peacefully, of course, but that wouldn't always be the case. But he would always apologise. I'm so sorry. But he'd mangle those words, I'm so sorry, to try to get around that Scottish accent. And in the end, I just couldn't stand it any longer. Whoever he became after that, I don't know, was it Matt Smith? I don't remember. Matt Smith with a face like a dungeon door, a dungeon gate, a big, huge, monolithic slab of a face that he's got. I got loads of mates who were like, are you still watching Doctor Who? God, it's great. I said, no. Oh, you've got to watch it. So I watched bits of Matt Smith and I went, no, can't do this. And it's not a reflection on the actors playing the Doctor. It's the garbage writing. It's, Gatiss, Moffat, Russell T Davies. Without going into too many details, it ain't for me. And you can keep it all. I'm happy if you love it, then great. Of course, then it became Peter Capaldi, who I do think is a great actor. But no, and it had a touch of the John Pertwee about him, with the curly hair and all that, like, and it's got the flamboyant sort of frock coats and frilly cuffs and all that sort of stuff. And I should have got back into it then. But no, I couldn't, because the writing was such a burden, I thought. The fun had gone from it, long gone. And he had Torchwood, the offshoot, and oh, Jesus Christ, don't get me started on that. Oh, you didn't, did you? I started that. Well, I won't go any further with it then, I promise. Then you got, who was it after Capaldi? Jodie Whittaker. I think I'm right in saying that. May have missed someone else. Who cares? I didn't watch any of Jodie Whittaker's tenure. Not one episode. I'd seen clips, and I've seen many clips, and I've seen reviews of certain episodes of stories, and I've just gone, oh, you have got to be kidding me. I ain't watching that garbage. I'd rather watch the old vintage garbage. The pre-CG effects, you know, and because they're so much better, and the stories are better, and the encapsulation of the Doctor's wayward, bizarre spirit, his time dislocated, you know, spirit. They were the best renditions of that character. So I stick with the beginnings. I don't even know who the new guy is who's playing him. I haven't got his name written down, so no point looking at me notes anywhere, because there isn't anything there. But I won't be watching any of that. I just won't be. Modern Doctor Who, I have absolutely no interest in. The David Tennant tenure had some good episodes and some bad ones, but it also, that whole what's her name, Piper, you know, the girl, Rose, that was good. I did enjoy that relationship, that companion, and the sort of, is there love there? Well, there kind of is, but that kind of brought a bit of the tragedy which must befall a Time Lord. And but she was good. Billie Piper, that's her name, innit? With those lips that go on forever and a mouth that opens like Bruce the Shark, you know. But yeah, I did enjoy that. Wow, the sun's just hit the Thing, the great big fantastic canvas artwork of the Thing uncovering the UFO, the crashed saucer in the ice, which I thought, I've got no Doctor Who, or what we're going to talk about in a minute, nothing canvas wise or poster wise to do with it. So I thought, oh, aliens, a ship buried, a flying saucer, which we're going to figure in the next thing I'm going to talk about. I thought that'd be ideal, and now you can't see it because the sun's shafted its light upon it. There you go. It's melting all the ice. Christ, be quicker than thermite bombs. Anyway, so David Tennant, there's a werewolf episode called Tooth and Claw, which I have discussed before, and but not fully reviewed it. Murray Gold's score for it is incredible. The fact that it's a werewolf, it's Queen Victoria, there's martial arts in it. That was like a zeitgeist which Russell T Davies and co never, for me, reached that pinnacle again. It just went catastrophically downhill afterwards. But wow, that was an episode that had everything. But of course, it had a werewolf in it, and I love werewolves, and the fact that they were like, werewolf, woo! They were excited about it as well. It was just the most bizarre aspect. But it was genuinely exciting. It built up to a great, finale. But of course, as with all Doctor Who, it eliminates that. It kind of eliminates the gothic and horror, supernatural, mythological elements, which of course it did with the demons, of course, and because it was the aliens and the pyramids of Mars. Oh, well, the pyramids on Mars, and the great big mummies are actually robots. So everything has this the science fiction element to drag down the horror. But Tom Baker did have a lot of horror episodes. But Tooth and Claw did have a sciencey, boffiny type explanation for it, and did kind of wishy-washy it down at the end. But I still love that episode. So cheers to David Tennant and Tooth and Claw. Brilliant. Oh, and Billie Piper, of course. But Tom, you are the Doctor. You are. And boy, could they have done with you during the invasion of Earth known as The Invaders, a Quinn Martin production. Because that's what I really want to talk about. I know, apologies to all you Whovians, but yeah, we've done the Doctor now. But I want to talk about The Invaders. Some of you might not even know what this show is, but plenty of you do. If in the UK, I think, I only caught this sort of in the mid to late 70s, I would think, on probably a Saturday afternoon, but kind of late on, like 5 o'clock, not your 4 o'clock slot, your 5 o'clock slot, which I think was once occupied by Star Trek, on the reruns of Star Trek, which is of course how I discovered it. And The Invaders was a sort of a proto X-Files. It definitely influenced the X-Files. And it took its influence from Invasion of the Body Snatchers and many other sci-fi invasion movies. It ran for 2 seasons, between 1967 and 1968. And its ongoing main star was Roy Thinners. When I was a kid, I never could work out what his name was. It's Roy, which is pretty straightforward, but then the surname was Thinnes. So I always know, so is it Thines? Is it Thin? Thinners sounds wrong, it can't be that. But it is, it's Roy Thinners. And he'd done a lot of TV, he'd do a lot more TV after this. I'd done a few movies as well. He did that movie, Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, where he's an astronaut that goes beyond the sun and encounters another Earth on the other side, and everything's flipped. I didn't like the movie at all because it lacked, action and spectacle, which of course are complaints you cannot level at Larry Cohen's and Quinn Martin's production of The Invaders, which I have just rediscovered again. You can see behind me season 1, season 2 on DVD. It exists on no UHD or 4K format, but I don't think. And I got them years ago, and they sat on the shelf, and I thought, because I couldn't wait to get them. And then once I got them, I couldn't be arsed watching them. Well, I began to watch them. It's gone very bright in here. There's a strange saucer spinning around above the ramparts of Kilt Mansion. Stop him before he says too much. He's dissed most of the Doctor Who's of the modern era. Destroy him. Exterminate him. But where was I going with that? Because these episodes had effects, they had action aplenty, they were quite dark stories, they were quite violent. Because I think I only bought them recently, well I bought them ages ago, but only began to watch them in the last few nights, and it was just, I bung a few episodes on. So I'm kind of halfway through season 1 right now, and I'm loving every minute of it. Given that it's a fugitive style show, another Quinn Martin production, what it is, a Californian architect, that doesn't come into it at all. He's basically James Bond, the way that it transpires. In the first episode, after a big business meeting miles from home, he's driving back through the night and he tries to find a shortcut that he'll never find. And he ends up by this old dilapidated diner, and he pulls in to get some much needed sleep. And of course he wakes up and there's a glowing purple light and he sees a spinning UFO, a flying saucer land, and he knows that they're here. So of course he informs the local police, who don't believe a word of it, and then he informs everyone who will listen to him. They go back to the site, but funny enough the name of the diner's changed. Well, who would do that? And he's noticed that even the local people having a vacation there have got weird fingers. One weird finger on the right hand, or is it the left hand? No, I've been watching that, I can't remember which one it is now. I think it's the right hand. And but not all of them do. Not all of them have a dodgy little finger. Some are fine, because they've arrived, they're here, they've taken human form, and his then quest, his odyssey, episode after episode after episode, is to root them out, destroy them, and tell the world. And early on, he becomes quite famous. He's a known commodity. He's that wacko dude who believes in UFOs and all that. Because what he does, X-Files style, is arrive anywhere around the US where there's been something strange happening. It doesn't have to be lights in the sky or a flying saucer landing. It could be anything at all which people have found strange. He winds up there. And of course, it is the invaders inveigling their way into society because they've got doctors, they've got police. They assume our identities and they look just like us, apart from, occasionally you've got that little disastrous digit. And he will uncover each episode their nefarious plot, which could be looking after an industrial site where they've got the war hero there, played by Jack Lord, who I 5-0. And at one time, Felix Leiter from James Bond, and he's got this fantastic setup where he can manufacture the rejuvenating tubes, because when they have their human form, it only lasts so long, and they've got to go back in and sort of go through this island Earth style, the tubes coming down. Think Star Trek transporter beams, but with plastic tubes, and think this island Earth where you can see the skeleton inside, and then they recharge their human-like batteries for a while, and then go about their business, infiltrating the world of man. And and they have like museums, they have zoos, they have like SeaWorld, and all their plots and plans and schemes take over towns, take over committees, take over courts, take over the army, take over all sorts, and they've got people everywhere. And it's David Vincent is the Roy Thynes character. Roy Thinners. See, I've got the name wrong again. Roy Thinners, his character. Remember I said he was a Californian architect on his way home from a meeting? I think only once do we get another reference to the fact that he's an architect, and it's in season 2, where he stumbles across a project in California which he was meant to work on. He was looking forward in his previous life to go and work on this construction site and revamp it into, modern, new, the Detroit of the future, like RoboCop. But the aliens are there and they're doing their thing. Oh, by the way, they've come from a dying planet. After the first episode, you'd have this introductory scene with an opening narration. They came from a dying planet. And there's a bit of a fuck up here, because if they come to Earth and assume human form, but you can quite clearly see one UFO flying towards the Earth, and this disappears into the Earth's atmosphere, and the camera sort of pans back to a view screen of another one behind it. It's quite a clever shot, actually. But the two alien operators are both in human form. Should they be slobbering tentacled, monstrosities, before they get there? Anyway, it is what it is. You do see some aliens who are sort of reverting back to their form, and they are pretty unpleasant. There's one in a vat of water who's completely been way too late to regenerate properly, and they get pulled over. Aliens who are driving him back to the site where they can bring him back, rejuvenate him, regenerate him, Doctor Who style. They get stopped by a copper, and because they've got one of the headlights isn't working, and they're high school kids, but they're aliens. And he says, "What's that noise in the back of the car?" And they open up the boot of the car, and they just see a purple light, and the cop goes, and he gets clubbed out or passes out, and his friend, played by another alarmingly great guest star, John Larch, he ends up in a mental asylum, and John Larch will join forces eventually with David Vincent to uncover what's been happening there, because basically he looked in the back there and he saw this heaving, congealing mass of what they should look like, but kind of deforming back to the normal form. It drove him insane. And you'll get this throughout every episode. David Vincent will meet hypocrisy, lies, corruption, and an entire town might be opposed to him, but he'll find some allies. Usually a woman, actually, a pretty woman, and they are. It's the 60s, late 60s, and they're looking good. And they're not in their late 60s. This is the late 60s. I should have made that a bit clearer. Although I'm at the age now where women in late 60s still look pretty good to me. Cheers, old girls. I love stockings. Not necessarily surgical stockings, but he loves stockings, he does. Although I do find they chafe a little bit, you know. You always find an ally, someone who's gone through hell, witnessed something, or they're afraid their partner's involved in something, so he joins forces with them, and gradually the secret will be revealed. But everyone's saying you're that crazy guy, you know, like, you know, who's looking for aliens everywhere. I go, no, it's true. And of course, throughout the course of the episode, it will be revealed to them, and they'll work with him. Sometimes there's tragedy involved as well. Not everyone makes it an episode alive. In fact, there's a lot of death. There's a hell of a lot of death in it. And the fighting, every episode will have, you know, David Vincent going mano a mano with an alien in human form. Poof, poof, poof. I'm sure there's a headbutt in it as well at one point. I'm sure there is. Just the way it's shot. And people get booted downstairs to go through windows. There's lots of stuff. And you can kill them. You can kill the aliens. You can shoot them. And what happens, it's a lazy ass effect for you modern kids. But back in the 60s and watching it in the reruns in the 70s, it was like, wow. They'd hit the deck or be running and a big bright red fuzz glow. And then it'd leave a scorch mark on the ground. A skid mark, if you will. And like, they're just, what the hell? And that's just it. Their burnt-in remains. They've scarred our planet with their own death. And it's wonderful. They have weapons. They have ray guns themselves. Ray guns, yes, proper ray guns. They also have this really horrible thing called the disc. It's just a disc. It just sits in your hand like a metal disc. The lights on it. But when applied to a human, it gives like a cerebral hemorrhage, or it can put him into a state of shock or coma. But, you know, depending on what setting you put it on. And they've got other stuff as well. They have bombs and things in there, and other nefarious equipment. They have one in an episode which I only watched just the other night. They have this machine which can control locusts and make them flesh-eating locusts and direct them after people and cause absolute bedlam. So you've got pockets of these aliens. There's never really like this overarching grand scheme that they've got. They're not acting as, you know, a cohesive invasion force. They're in every town and city and state and all that. And they've all got their own little plans. It's like we're invading. Like, quickly, just do whatever you can. Take over the humanity and destroy those you can't enslave. Destroy them. Because they do enslave people. They have them as mindless minions. And they also have people who, they kind of tell them a bit like, well, They Live. John Carpenter's They Live. Definitely inspired by this. Massively inspired. You've got people who are coerced by their promises of like, look, you join with us and we're going to give you all the wealth you need. You'll command millions. And of course they fall under this. They're tycoons, they're businessmen, they're military people. You know, they want that sense of power. So they fall into the trap of the aliens. Now, I think it's fantastic. The very fact that the writers can, there's varied writers, you can keep this sort of story running. Season 1 ran for 17 episodes. Let me get that right, 17. Season 2 ran for 26 episodes. Yeah, we're back in the land of like long seasons, you know. And it's an hour-long show, but obviously with ads, it's down to about 45 minutes. But it's a lot in each show. You have the initial, oh my God, someone has witnessed something, and then you get the opening title sequence with the typical narration that takes place. Dominic Frontier's fabulously eerie music, which you're listening to right now, which I'll talk about that more. And then David Vincent will arrive there, and there could be scientists involved, there could be all sorts involved, and then he'll do his initial sort of recce. He'll find out what's going on. He'll make enemies, some of whom are obviously aliens, but some could be human as well, who are either working for the aliens or just don't like him and don't believe a word he says. He's going to win them over. And then obviously he'll uncover their plot. There'll be various meetings, discussions, and lots of this going on, and some frazzled people going on, and a lot of creepy eeriness, and lots of action and stealth and creeping around, spying on things. And then it'll all be wrapped up, but he knows he's still got to convince the world, because like Kolchak, the Night Stalker, everything gets brushed under the carpet. The police never look back into it again. Yeah, it went to the Senate, but the Senate just like said it's all lies and it's all bullshit. Like, it's mass hysteria. And so his quest to convince the world goes on episode after episode. Now, you'd think that'd get boring because it's just the same old samey stuff, but it doesn't, because listen to the sound effect here. That is the effect taken from War of the Worlds. The Byron Haskin 1950s War of the Worlds. The death ray, the manta ray. And just purloined. And in fact, Roy Thinners was in a version of War of the Worlds as well. I can't remember which one it was now. Might have been the 80s TV version. I can't remember now. But it doesn't get boring at all, because you have these for TV and formulaic TV like this, you do meet a vast arrangement of characters with all different agendas, and he's got to convince them, or they're already on his side. And there's some witty dialogue, and you get the action scenes, and you get the suspense, and there's definite jeopardy, and more than a few shocks along the way. People do die. So I absolutely love it. Now, Roy Thinners, what a good-looking bastard he is. No, seriously, he is. He's got the kind of looks that you would want. He looks great in a suit. The 60s suits, he's dead. You can tell there's a bit of, he works out, but he looks good in a suit. Like Daniel Craig, people say, like, you know, as Eva Green, you know, Vesper Lind, you know, like, you actually think, you know, you look good in that. So whatever she says about the suit, you know, you actually think that suit fits you, or whatever, because he's fucking bulked up in Casino Royale. But Roy Thinners has that kind of, not as bulky as Daniel Craig, but you can tell he works out and he looks good in those dapper grey suits of the 60s and the tight kecks. I sound like I'm in love with this guy, but I defy you not to be, because great looking face, piercing blue eyes. He has the look of two Pauls. Paul Newman and Paul Walker. Weirdly enough, you could put him in those regeneration pods of the aliens, regeneration pools. Tubes, not pools. And you'd have like Paul Newman, Roy Thinners, and you'd get in modern day, sadly gone of course, you'd get Paul Walker. But the three have the same face, the same eyes, and that same sort of chiseled look. You look at it, and I defy you to deny it. And he's charismatic, and he's a fucking go-getter, you know. But what gets me is, like, who's funding him? It may get mentioned at some point. It hasn't been yet that I've picked up on. He's an architect. But how could he be so good at fucking knocking people out and running around and hijacking cars and vehicles and posing as certain other people? How come he can do that so extremely well? He's a fucking James Bond, and he is a James Bond type character. But an architect. There is another famous vigilante architect as well. Paul Kelsey. Charles Bronson, Death Wish. And but Roy Thinners as David Vincent came first. But yeah, who's funding him? Although a lot of he's gone to meet someone who's heard about his work and is like, I've called you over here because of this, and this, and you've got to look into this. So, and you do see him take jobs in certain episodes, posing as certain people, like a chauffeur, a farmhand, or whatever, or a reporter. He'll do certain jobs like to try to get closer to his target zone. He even falls in love with an alien. Early on, there's an alien female that begins to question what her race are doing and kind of falls for him. I think that's a bit of a misstep, that, to be honest. But it shows that there is variety there. And the aliens aren't just simple one-note characters, because you do get to know some of them in various episodes and their agenda and their inveigling manner, their clever sort of suave sophistication and how they can get people onto their side. It's kind of clever. The writing is clever and it's snappy. Whenever I say the word snappy and I talk about witty dialogue, I want to click my fingers, and of course you guys know I can't click my fucking fingers because I've got a weird alien finger. I just can't do it. Never have been able to. You're kidding me. Did you hear that? Forget it. And it shouldn't hurt, should it? Why have I got massive finger burns now? That shouldn't happen, should it? Anyway, the guest stars are legendary. I've written a list of them down, and this will blow your mind. I mean, you're talking the era of, again, The Fugitive, lots of other drama series on TV, cult shows, and everyone would have like, and this is no exception, a Quinn Martin production. And it's like, today's stars are, and you list all your major ones, and special guest appearance from, usually that would be a woman, and a woman that, you know, that is an up and coming starlet they want to bring in. So all your big stars would be listed first, and it'd show you, you know, a scene of them talking behind the main titles and the narration. But it was great. Tonight's episode, The Mutation, you know, stuff like this. So here we go. Listen to this. Obviously, Roy Thinners was in every single episode. And some of these, I'm going to read out to you, would appear again in other episodes. But not playing the same character. It's given in one of, you know, long-running TV shows. They think they assume that audiences would not recognise certain people. Especially when you've named them to start and starring again. Yes. You may have seen someone with a similar name looking just like this in episode 3, but really it's a different person. Playing an entirely different character. Roddy McDowall. Oh my God. He's in an alien one. A jittery son who he's under the influence of the aliens, and he has these terrible headaches, you know, when their control begins to lapse. And they've got to use that disc thing again. They do that to him, but again, it's a different setting just to get him under their control. So that cerebral hemorrhage disc can do other stuff as well. Jack Lord, who I mentioned before, from Hawaii Five-0, and his wife in the episode, Diana Hyland. Oh my God, she is gorgeous. This is in the episode Vicor. I think it should be called Vicor. It's Vikor, but it's Vicar, basically. And that's his name. He's a Korean war hero with a gammy leg, and he's got a tin plate in his head and all that. Like, and he's the one in charge of this huge industrial facility, which the aliens want to use his equipment to manufacture their regeneration tubes. Anyway, John Larch, who's a copper, and he hates David Vincent to begin with, and then ends up, after shooting an alien, and then, oh my God, what happened to him? Because he's gone bright red, fuzzy beam, frazzlement, scorch mark on the deck. It's all true. Yes, I've been telling you, haven't I? You know, he joins forces. Well, he was the chief of police who gave him Harry Callahan such a hard time in Dirty Harry. He's great. Suzanne Plachette, a famous icon of the 60s and 70s. She's in several episodes, actually. James Whitmore. James Whitmore is the ranger, the state trooper in them, exclamation mark, the giant ants. He's the hero who sacrifices himself at the end to save the kids from the giant ants. Oh, James Whitmore, who looks like my father-in-law, Big Bob Olty. I love this guy. He's done a lot of movies, a lot of TV, a lot of westerns, but for me, it's them. Barry Morse from Space 1999. Susan Strasberg. Many movies, many TV shows, and a model as well. Michael Rennie, he was Klaatu from The Day the Air Stood Still. Awesomeness. So again, flying saucers. You've got the heritage there from 1951 to The Day the Air Stood Still. Directed by Robert Wise. Burgess Meredith. Need to say any more. Burgess Meredith. From Twilight Zone and so many movies. Of course, he's Mickey. What's happened to that? That's completely warped out now, hasn't it? Maybe it's taken off. It'll be off in a minute. But the trainer of Rocky Balboa and dies in Rocky 3. Oh God. Mick. Yeah. Kevin McCarthy from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, who would reprise, well, sort of have a cameo in Phil Kaufman's 78 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, playing the way he ended up at the end of the original movie. Like, they're here, they're coming, you're next, you're next. Kevin McCarthy. In a lot of other movies, The Howling and Twilight Zone, like a lot for Joe Dante, obviously. Barbara Hershey from The Entity, and that one with the other women, the big women's movie, I forgot what it's called now, and they all cry their eyes out. I don't know what it is. But yeah, she undergoes the horrible, systematic poltergeist rape from The Entity, a film I have covered. And yeah, I've also covered Invasion of the Body Snatchers massively on the channel. Gene Hackman is in there as well. Gene Hackman. Anne Francis from Forbidden Planet. Altera. Anne Francis. Don Gordon. So many movies. He's in Lethal Weapon. He's worked opposite Clint Eastwood. He's also in The Final Conflict. He's Sam Neill as Damien. He's his prime second lieutenant. And but when the firstborns have got to be killed, he doesn't want to do it. He's going to back out of the devil's plot. But anyway, Don Gordon. Peter Graves from Mission Impossible. He's in there. Ralph Bellamy from Ghost of Frankenstein and The Wolfman. The original 1941, George Wagner. Lon Chaney Jr., The Wolfman. He's in there as well. And Jack Warden, who's in so fucking many. You watch TV shows of the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, and Jack Warden is in so friggin' many of them. Like, just one of those regular faces. So it's great. It's absolutely great to watch this. And special guest star. And it brings all that sort of nostalgia back of when you were a kid watching these things. I know some of you are even older than me, which is hard to imagine, but it's true. And, you know, you were much older and more sophisticated, but I know you guys loved this. We all did. It was dark. It was quite somber. It was threatening. There was never like a happy twee, haha, we beat them this time ending. It wasn't like that because the quest was ongoing. Well, we beat them this time, but still no one believes. Now, in season 2, they kind of realised, or maybe erroneously realised, that they couldn't keep this sort of format going. That it's ridiculous to believe that no one else is believing David Vincent. It'll work for 17 episodes. I mean, in a way, he's already got, by the end of the 17th episode, he's got quite an army of believers who've been through all the shit alongside him in city after city, state after state, you know, and they've seen and witnessed it all. So he can call on them at any time. He even meets his brother at one stage. No, it's season 2. He meets his brother who's threatened by aliens. Because the aliens, this is the daft thing, I suppose. The aliens have David Vincent many times and they could just fucking kill him. Like, the bad guys capture Bond and just disclose their master plan. But don't kill him. They'll even walk out the room and let him find a way out of his cell, of his captivity. You know, it's just, you find someone that's your arch enemy. This guy could destroy all our plans, but we've got him here. Well, kill him. Just kill. I'll do it. Bang, right? No worries. Carry on with our nefarious scheme. So, David Vincent, it's a cliche, of course. It's a trope. So he gets away with it a lot of the time. And but as I say, he meets other people throughout season 1. So he must be able to call upon these people again. Like, look, you know, I need you. Come on, you know what the threats are. You know what is opposing us. You know what their abilities are. Well, get on this. I've just met another bunch and they've got this, this and this. And they're doing this. I need your help. That never seems to happen. So they kind of realised in season 2 that, oh, it's getting a bit preposterous now. So let's have him meet other people, who know what's going on. And I keep seeing little wayward strands of hair doing ridiculous things. And let's bring him on board and he'll have a team. So they do that thing. He's got a regular team of people who you're going to see, not maybe in every episode in season 2, but they will come back a lot, this team, and he'll use them, and they will have fair bits of chunks of story as well. So you're taking away from David Vincent himself. And I suppose it's the natural extension. It would be. You've got like an underground. Think V. Again, what this show influenced was V, the TV series, and with the underground rebellion and who realise what's going on, and all the mass monkeys, the sheeple out there that don't have a clue. And of course, They Live is extremely this. X-Files, V, and They Live, and countless other invasion movies take a leaf out of the book of the Invaders. But season 2 has many great episodes that I haven't got onto it yet, you see, but I remember bits. I remember the other team people being in it, and their plans, and how it did differ from the first season. But I look forward to getting onto it though. But yeah, and it's a shame it really didn't go on any further, because if I remember rightly, there is no overall victory. Season 2 ends, but you're still, a cliffhanger. They're still here. They haven't defeated them all. It's not over. I don't think so anyway. I don't remember that being the case. No, they wouldn't do that. They're not going to kill off a franchise like that. But it never did return. So, although you could argue that X-Files and V kind of dragged it further out and into a newer age with new effects and stuff like. But anyway, and there is prosthetic effects in this. I was thinking about V there. There's lack of digital effects, but prosthetics and their big stretchy faces and peeling the human skin off themselves to reveal their reptilian real countenance. Well, you do see some aliens in kind of mid reversion back to their normal form with all horrible mutoid faces and that, like. But anyway, now the soundtrack for it is iconic. That opening theme, let's try and find it, because I'm playing some episode soundtracks here. Well, let's get on to it. It's composed by Dominic Frontier. Now, he wasn't the only composer on the show, but he was the main composer. He did most of the scores for like season 1, and I think other people did come into season 2. I could be wrong about that. But he's the overall composer. We had other people producing the score as well. And it's very eerie, it's very sci-fi. Dominic Frontier also worked on The Outer Limits. There's some wonderful scores for that. Again, purely spellbinding, spectrally intense sci-fi sound, warbling, weird, eerie, undulating, tones and blaring sort of like sci-fi stuff going on. There's a very technical term here. Blaring sci-fi stuff going on. But listen to it. It's wonderful. And the iconic opening theme, everyone remembers all that, like. But these are, the actual scores themselves. Listen. And you get a lot of this blaring sort of like, oh my God, what's happening? Lots of shock moments, jump scares, being caught, being surrounded by aliens, and then but spying on stuff taking place, and then seeing the aliens doing their dirty dealings, and like strange glowing lights. They're moving something, but it's glowing, and you get all this weird stuff. Great, it's a great score, wonderful score. There is a CD out, well, at least there was a CD out there of Dominic Frontier's score. Which of course would be tracked, elements would be tracked from episode to episode, obviously, they're going to do that. And from season 1 to season 2. There's got to be a whoa. Okay, yeah, almost. It is wonderful stuff. Super, super creepy, that genuinely alien, skin prickling. But also the show went from a lot of locations. Yeah, you've got Vasquez Rocks, is it, where they filmed a lot of the desert planets of Star Trek. Yeah, and a lot of westerns, and the likes of Tarantula, and even them got a sequence there as well. Yeah, you've got that features, but you've got lots of different cities, lots of different towns all over the US, and I don't know how far they actually went out to film these things, because it's a Californian, TV studio based thing. But the locations, even if it's just California, are diverse, and lots of different towns and hamlets and cities and beaches and factories and warehouses. There's great big buildings used a lot, and quite a big cast, a lot of extras going on. There's car chases, there's all sorts that happen in this. That's got to be a chase and a bit of a, wonderful. So, Doctor Who is 60, and this year there's a lot more going on. David Tennant is back for with, I forgot her name, Catherine Tate, is it? For three TV specials, Christmas specials. They're all, I think one's on in a couple of weeks' time. Then you get one middle of December. Then you get one Christmas time. I don't know. And then presumably he will reject. So he's coming back as the Doctor, but the 14th Doctor. Oh, I've probably got this wrong now. He's going to come back, but he's a different Doctor, but looks this. Oh, I probably got that completely wrong. Arse about face. I don't know. I don't care. And then he will regenerate into the new guy. At some point, there'll be a transgender Doctor. It'll happen. It'll happen. Mark my words. Cheers, y'all. Oh dear. So, anyway, The Invaders. I urge you to watch it. If you hadn't heard of it beforehand, well, you've got a massive in-depth view of it there. It's well worth it. Roy Thinners is wonderful as David Vincent, and the samey formula you'd think would become boring and it would stagnate. It does not, because each new scenario is suitably different and more exciting with more diverse characters and situations that it does make things better. He's there with a shotgun. He gets into you. They take him off world at one stage. They take him in a flying saucer off planet as well. He gets back again, of course. That's why he's got a shotgun in that one later. And I think he does do a couple with the shotgun. See, it was an era where they weren't afraid to off, people. Whether they're actually aliens, so we can do that. Well, Doctor Who doesn't do that. Doctor Who wimps out on the killing of aliens all the time, which is why I really began to hate Russell T Davies and the sanitisation and the wokeisation of Doctor Who. It's just and David Tennant apologising every fucking thing. Look, it's not, but I've got to save this planet because I know what you're doing and I don't want to do this, but I'm so sorry. Hey, I'm so fucking sorry. He's a good actor, David Tennant. He is. I do like him, but fucking hell. He does that advert as well for, that bank. Whatever the bank is. I'm not advertising for him. But my God, he's chewing his vowels on that. He's using his normal accent, but what the hell? I know millions of Scots. No one speaks like that. Nobody. No Scot speaks like that. It's because he spent so long acting with an English accent. Or maybe an American accent, and he's had to try to disguise his Scottish accent, that it just becomes this. It's like he's in mid-transformation to a werewolf. It's bad. It's bad, folks. So there's another reason why I'm not going to be watching, because I can't fucking stand the sound of his voice. Right. Right. What else are we going to talk about? Well, there's season 1 and season 2 of the Invaders. They are readily available on DVD. I don't think they have any extras on them. Sadly, I don't think they do. But they could be on YouTube as well. I don't know. I haven't looked. They could download them. I don't know. They're probably on some sci-fi channel or TV channel anyway. So I'm sure you'll find. Oh look, it's all come back again now. I wish that whiskey had come back though. Right. Okay, that's it. We're out of here. But I do urge you to enjoy Doctor Who, especially vintage Doctor Who. But aside from that, get onto the Invaders. It's way better than you may remember it. It's way better than you may have heard about it. And if you haven't heard about it at all, it's great. It's vintage, it's of its era, it's 60s, but it's also forward thinking. The very fact that, you know, it influenced such great cult favourite shows as V and The X-Files, and They Live, of course, and a myriad other things, but it's also, it sits behind Invasion of the Body Snatchers and countless other invasion movies and monster movies of the 50s where people will be taken over and become alien acolytes, or they just are aliens, just in human form, you know. But really, when you see them properly, they're horrible tentacled, beefy-faced, walrus-type thing. Anyway, give it a shot, and let me know what you think. Let me know what your memories are of The Invaders, a Quinn Martin production. That was never like a cliche when you were a kid. It actually was a badge of honour. You'd be sitting watching something like Quinn Martin production. You go, oh, ooh, wow, this would be great. Oh, I did I say before? I may have done. I forgot now. It was created by Larry Cohen. Larry Cohen, who did the It's Alive franchise and the Maniac Cop franchise. He did God Told Me To. He did Q the Winged Serpent. He also did Return to Salem's Lot. Ooh, ah. He did The Stuff as well. And he's done lots of TV shows, he's directed, he's written, he's produced. But Larry Cohen was the guy that came up with this idea in the first place. And it's great to see that he did that, you know. But it's often neglected and overlooked. When people talk about Doctor Who, they talk about all the you know, Space 1999 and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Suddenly I'm trying to pluck sci-fi shows out of nowhere. Lost in Space, Star Trek. But this one, no, it's like a little footnote. Oh, and the Invaders. No. The Invaders is far, far better than that. It is. It's worthy in its own right. It tackles the invasion of Earth from a personal point of view, but with lots of far-reaching implications and great setups, great characters, great scenarios, and great action. Well, hey ho, there you go. Folks, I have been with Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever invaded in-between time, please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic, and keep an eye out for weird fingers and people glowing, you know. And I'm going to see you all. If it ever comes to light that someone out there goes, look, the aliens are amongst us, simple test. If they can click the fingers, they're human. Shit. Not good enough.